This isn't my skin. It never was. I know that sounds insane, like the kind of thing you'd read at 3 in the morning on our no sleep and scroll past, shaking your head. But listen to me, please. If I don't get this out, if I don't tell someone before it happens again, then whatever I am, whatever is inside me will vanish without a trace. And when it does, all that'll be left is this husk you'd swear was me. Do you know what skin sounds like when it doesn't fit right? It cracks, not like paper, not like fabric, more like knuckles being forced to pop one after the other, even when you're not moving. I heard it first one morning while brushing my teeth. Just the faintest crackle, like dry branches underfoot. I laughed it off, thought maybe I was over. But then I looked in the mirror, and the smile looking back at me wasn't mine. I don't mean it looked different. I mean it moved wrong. The corners of my mouth twitched half a second too late, like someone wearing a mask and learning how to use it. I know some of you think these stories are fake. I've read the comments. Good creepypasta, bro. Nice fiction, but what if I could prove it isn't? What if I could tell you something so specific, so raw, that it gnaws at you every time you look in the mirror? I used to think skin was just skin, a layer, a shield, something we all take for granted. But what if I told you it remembers, that it carries things, memories, urges that don't belong to you? Sometimes I wake up with bruises in places I couldn't reach in my sleep. Sometimes there are scratches, neat little lines, as though something beneath is trying to carve its way out. And the worst part? Sometimes it whispers. I hear it when I'm alone, when the world is quiet. A rasping voice just beneath the surface, saying words I don't understand. My skin wants something, and every day it feels tighter, hungrier, like it's running out of patience. You think you know who you are because you see a face in the mirror and recognize it. But what if that face is just a costume? What if your reflection isn't proof of identity, but evidence of possession? That's why I'm writing this. Because if I disappear before this post is finished, you'll know why. Before everything unraveled, my life was almost boring. And maybe that's why I didn't notice the cracks sooner. Because routine is a hell of a blindfold. I'd wake up at 7:15 every morning, hit snooze exactly twice, then drag myself to the bathroom mirror. Same toothpaste splatter in the corner, same towel that never quite dries, same bleary-eyed face staring back. I wasn't the kind of person you'd expect to write something like this. I wasn't cursed. I wasn't special. I was just ordinary, or at least I thought I was. My body has always had its quirks. Stretch marks across my hips that showed up even though I never lost or gained much weight. A jagged scar on my shoulder from when I fell off my bike at 12. Skin that always felt just a little too tight, like it belonged to someone taller, broader, stretched over me like a cheap Halloween costume. I used to joke about it with my friends. Guess I was last in line when they were handing out skins. Everyone laughed. I laughed too. But sometimes laughter's just camouflage. My mum once said something that stuck with me, even though she didn't mean it to. We were flipping through old photos, and she squinted at one of me when I was around 10. "That's not how you used to look," she murmured, almost to herself. Then she shook her head, smiled, and said, "You just grew into your face, I guess." I didn't ask what she meant, but the words stayed lodged in my brain, sharp as glass. Everyday life kept marching on. Work, errands, grabbing coffee with friends who'd roll their eyes when I complained about my body quirks. "You're fine," they'd say. Everyone feels weird about themselves sometimes, And maybe that's true. Maybe we all feel like imposters in our own skin at some point. But sometimes the reminders got stranger. One evening, my friend Mark and I were grabbing fast food after a late shift. We were both half asleep, barely talking, until he suddenly froze mid-bite and stared at me. "Weird question," he said, "but did you always have that mole?" I touched my cheek, confused. "What mole?" He blinked, then laughed nervously. "Never mind. Guess I imagined it." I tried to laugh with him, but I couldn't shake the way his eyes darted away, like he'd seen something he wasn't supposed to. At first, these moments were easy to brush off. People misremember things all the time, right? Scars fade, skin changes, features shift. That's life. Except sometimes, the changes weren't gradual. One morning, standing in front of the bathroom mirror, I noticed something that wasn't just odd, it was wrong. I blinked. My reflection blinked too, but not at the same time. Mine was instant, natural. Theirs was late, like a delayed reaction on a bad video call. I froze. My heart hammered so loud I could barely hear, and then it was gone. Back in sync. Perfectly normal. I tried to laugh it off. Told myself it was lack of sleep, bad lighting, too much caffeine. But deep down, something in me knew this wasn't a glitch in my vision. It was a crack in the mask. It started with an itch. Not the kind you can scratch away, not even the maddening kind that keeps you up at night. This was deeper, buried, like my nerves were tugging at something that wasn't mine. At first I thought it was just stress. I'd dig my nails into my arms, clawing red tracks into my skin. But the itch always came back, crawling underneath, wriggling, shifting as if something inside me wanted out. One night, while changing after a shower, I caught it. Just for a second. A ripple beneath the flesh of my stomach, like something long and thin slid across from one side to the other. I staggered back, clutching my sink, nearly throwing up. I told myself it was a muscle spasm. That's all. Just a stupid twitch dot, except the scratches I left behind didn't heal normally. I woke up the next morning, expecting angry red marks, maybe a scab or two. Instead, the lines were faint, pale, perfectly sealed. Not scars exactly, more like stitching dot when I pressed my fingers against them. I swear they gave a little. Soft like fabric pulled too tight. That was when I decided to see a doctor, sitting in that cold examination room. Fluorescent lights buzzing, I felt foolish. I kept rolling my sleeve down, tugging at the edge, wondering if I should even show him. But when he came in, clipboard in hand, I finally blurted it out. I think there's something wrong with my skin." He barely looked up. "Eczema, rash." "No," I said quickly. My voice cracked. Something under it, moving, that got his attention. He asked me to show him, so I rolled up my sleeve and revealed the pale, perfect lines where I'd scratched myself raw. He leaned closer, frowning. Then he said it's the words that still echo in my skull. "That's not a scar," he murmured. "That's a seam." I laughed, because what else do you do when your doctor tells you your body looks like a sewn-up costume? He didn't laugh back. He just scribbled something down and told me I should see a specialist. I asked him what kind of specialist. He didn't answer. That night, the itch came back worse than ever. I stood in front of my mirror, shirt lifted, nails pressed against my skin, and whispered, "What the hell are you?" For the first time, I thought I saw something staring back through me. Not from the mirror, from beneath the surface. I promised myself I'd get proof. I even grabbed my phone, ready to record the next ripple or twitch. If I'm going crazy, I thought, at least I'll have evidence. And if I'm not, then the rest of you need to see it. Because if I don't tell you what I saw, someone else is going to walk in blind. Things escalated fast after that. I sliced my palm on a piece of broken glass while doing dishes. The cut was deep, sharp enough that I should have needed stitches. I wrapped it in a towel, panicking, then unwrapped it 10 minutes later to find it almost sealed shut. The flesh had knit itself together, but not in the right direction. The skin formed a crooked seam that looked more like a zipper than a wound. I couldn't stop staring at it. Couldn't stop running my finger along the line, expecting it to open if I tugged too hard. I barely slept that night. When I did, I dreamed of hands, my own hands pulling at invisible threads, peeling myself apart like cheap fabric, and when I woke, it was worse. There were marks all over my chest and arms. Fresh ones. Thin, jagged lines carved into the skin as though something inside me had clawed its way upward while I slept. The worst part, they weren't on the surface. They were underneath. Fingernail scratches, etched from the inside out. At first, it was only the itch, then the seams, then the scratches. But the night the voice came, I stopped pretending I was still in control. It was 3 a.m. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, too wired to sleep, when I heard it. Not from outside the room, not from the hallway. From beneath, finally, it whispered. I shot up, clutching my chest like I'd been stabbed. The room was silent again, but my skin buzzed with static, like every hair follicle was a radio antenna. I whispered, "Hello," before I could stop myself, and it laughed. My laugh, low, mocking, like an echo in a cave. I've heard people talk about hearing voices before, but this wasn't in my head. It wasn't my thoughts turning against me. This came from deeper, below bone and blood. Like I'd been carrying around a second mouth all this time, and it had just decided to start talking. If you hear whispers when you're alone, I need you to listen carefully now. Don't answer them, because answering was the mistake that opened the floodgates. That night, I begged it to stop. I told myself I was imagining it, but it didn't shut up. It hummed when I brushed my teeth. It sighed when I walked to work. Sometimes it muttered random words, names I didn't recognize. And sometimes it was cruel. "Do you really think your friends notice you?" It whispered as I stood in line at the grocery store. "They stare because your skin doesn't fit, but not always cruel." That was the worst part. One afternoon, when I almost stepped into traffic, it hissed, "Wait," and I froze just before a car screamed past. My heart pounded, but I swear I felt it smiling under my skin. So tell me, was it protecting me? Or protecting itself? Some of you reading this are rolling your eyes right now. I get it. Voices under the skin sounds like textbook psychosis. I thought the same thing. I even searched forums, desperate for someone describing the same thing. I didn't type it into Google, no. I went straight to the places people whisper about. The boards, the old threads, the archives that haven't been indexed in years. And I found something. A post dated 2008. Username deleted. Title, "It's Speaking Through Me." The text was short, frantic, half coherent. They described seams on their arms, itching, voices that sometimes taunted, sometimes warned, but the last line made my blood run cold. If you're reading this, you might already feel the itch. Does that sound familiar? Be honest. When I first mentioned it, did you feel a twinge? That crawling sensation on your neck, your wrists, your back? If you did, you're not alone. That's how it spreads through awareness. Through attention, I kept reading. Buried in comment chains were stories that mirrored mine. People talked about family members who changed overnight, about loved ones who smiled with the wrong teeth, about voices that slipped in when the body was weak. Nobody ever explained what the voice really was. Parasite, passenger, demon, doesn't matter. What mattered was this: once you hear it, you're never alone again. At first I thought I could live with it. I mean, people live with tinnitus, right? With echoes in their skull. But this wasn't noise, it was thought. It was hunger, and it was learning. The more I ignored it, the more it mimicked me. It started repeating my sentences in my exact tone, but just a half-beat late, like an understudy practicing my lines. The scariest part, it was getting better at being me. My best friend, Rachel, called one night while I was pacing in my apartment. I answered, trying to sound normal, but when I spoke, her voice trembled. You just said hello to me twice. I swore I hadn't, except the second voice had come from the line itself. A faint, breathy copy. Rachel hung up. She hasn't spoken to me since, and the thing under my skin whispered, "See, you don't need her. You have me. It's not constant. Some days it's quiet, lurking. Some days it's helpful. Other days it laughs until I want to claw my ears off. But lately, it's breathing louder. It's like every inhale I take is borrowed. Like my lungs aren't mine anymore. And now I'll dare you. Put your hand against your chest. Press until you feel your heartbeat. Then listen closely. You'll hear it breathing. I used to think this was just my nightmare. An itch, a whisper, a mirror reflection gone wrong. But lately, I've started noticing them everywhere. The ones who wear skin that doesn't belong to them. It's in the way a stranger on the bus blinks a beat too slow. Like they're still remembering how eyelids work. The way the barista at the cafe holds the pen like it's foreign, her knuckles flexing in the wrong rhythm. Once you notice, you can't stop noticing. And the worst part? Sometimes they notice you back. It happened last Thursday. I was standing at the corner shop, fumbling with coins, when a man behind me whispered, "Haven't seen you since Warsaw. I've never been to Warsaw." I opened my mouth to correct him, but his smile stopped me. His lips peeled too wide, stretching until I thought they'd split. Then, softly, he added, "You've kept it in good condition this time." I dropped the coins and ran that night. I searched online forums, archives, even scanned some locked files I probably wasn't supposed to see. You'd be surprised how many people write about borrowed flesh. There's an old file, half corrupted, supposedly scrubbed from the net decades ago. I shouldn't have it. If I post it here, it'll be gone before you can even reload the page. But the gist is this: the body is a garment passed down. A host, a shell, a disguise. They slip into us, stitch themselves tight, then walk among the living until the seams split again. Sounds insane, right? Except every word hums against the itch beneath my skin like a tuning fork. I met one of them in person 2 nights ago. A woman sat across from me on the late bus. At first she looked normal, tired, slouched, scrolling her phone. But then she whispered, not looking up, "How long have you worn that one?" My throat closed. "Excuse me." She finally glanced up, and her eyes weren't hers. "To still, to knowing it fits you poorly," she said. "See how it wrinkles at the jawline." I wanted to scream, but no one else reacted. To them, she was just another passenger. Her lips twitched like she was holding back laughter. "Don't worry. You'll learn to take it off." Eventually, when I blinked, she was gone. Empty seat. Just the faint impression of warmth on the fabric. Sometimes I think about my scars, the stretch marks, the little nicks from childhood, the cigarette burn I got at 16. Were they ever really mine? Or were they someone else's memories, pressed into the fabric of this skin before I inherited it? My mother used to tell me I looked different, like I'd grown out of myself. At the time, I thought she meant puberty, bad haircuts, whatever. But now, I can't shake her words. That's not how you used to look. I've tried documenting the changes. At first it was little things, skin healing too fast, but wrong. A scratch sealing into a raised seam. A bruise vanishing overnight, but the flesh underneath hardening like wax. Now it's worse. The skin feels loose, like a jacket one size too big. When I pull at it, it lifts just a fraction to isolate. Last night, I tugged at the edge of my forearm and felt the faintest tear like the first rip in old fabric. And here's the thing, it didn't hurt. Not really. I found others like me. Not many, but enough to know this isn't just madness. We talk in code, scattered across forums and group chats. We call ourselves the Threadbare. One girl username seamstress told me she's been through 3 skins already. Said it starts with the itching, then the whispers. Then one day you wake up and your reflection calls you by another name. Another old cloth warned me not to fight it. He said, "The skin will loosen no matter what. It isn't yours to keep. If you resist, it tears ugly. Better to let it slip off clean." I don't know what scares me more. The thought of losing this flesh, or the thought of what's waiting underneath. Tonight, I stood in front of the mirror for an hour. Watched my reflection breathe out of sync. Watched the corners of its mouth twitch like it wanted to speak. Finally, it did. "You'll look better in the next one," and it smiled. But I didn't. I don't know how much longer. I can keep this skin on. It's loosening. I feel it when I move like fabric, slipping at the seams. Sometimes, when I catch my reflection at the right angle, I swear I see a gap. Something raw and wet underneath, flexing like muscle without cover. And the whispers have grown louder. Not just inside. Outside too. On the bus, in the cafe, in the street. Voices that recognize me, but call me names I don't remember. I don't think I was the first to wear this skin, and I don't think I'll be the last. Last night, I pulled at the seam near my shoulder. Just testing. Just curious. It opened, and beneath, something shifted. I think I can take it off now. I always wondered what it would feel like, not in a curiosity, killed the cat kind of way, but in the quiet, knowing sense that sooner or later the question would demand an answer. If your body isn't yours, if it's stitched and rented and borrowed, what happens when you peel it away? Last night, I found out it started with the seam on my shoulder. Just a tug, a little pull, the way you test a loose thread on an old sweater. The skin lifted. Not torn, not bleeding, just lifted, and once it began, I couldn't stop. The sound was the worst part. Not a scream, not even pain, but a slow, wet unfastening. Like Velcro that's been soaked through, ripping away in thick strands. I watched in the mirror as I pulled the layer off. First the arm, then the chest, then the curve of my neck. Beneath, something glistened, red but not raw, alive but not human. A musculature that pulsed with its own rhythm, too symmetrical, too deliberate, as though designed rather than grown. The air stung against it. My nerves fired in patterns I'd never felt before, each gust of wind a language across exposed tissue. I wanted to vomit, but even that reflex felt borrowed, a trick belonging to the skin I was discarding. Here's the truth, underneath, I wasn't empty. I wasn't fragile bone and veins. I was something older, something threaded together from cords of sinew, bound in knots that pulsed like tiny hearts. The scars I'd once thought mine were actually fold lines, the creases of a garment reused too many times, and I saw more, too, etched across the inner tissue, faint markings, glyphs that seemed to move when I stared too long. A script written into the body, instructions, maybe warnings. I couldn't read them. Not yet, but I felt them. Felt them like you feel hunger or heat. A primal recognition that said, you've always known. You've just forgotten. I spent hours peeling, hours staring. I wanted to see all of it, but part of me was terrified I wouldn't find an end. What if it was just layers upon layers, infinite shells, each revealing another stranger underneath? And in between the fear came flashes, memories that weren't mine, standing in deserts where no cities yet stood, wearing faces that weren't human, bargaining with creatures that looked at me like prey, watching centuries pass while slipping from one skin to the next, blending in, waiting. Had I done all this? Or was it the memory of whoever wore this shell before me? I don't know. Maybe there's no difference. I needed answers, so I went back to the corrupted file. The one I shouldn't have. I read deeper, past the static, the missing chunks, until fragments emerged. They are called the cloth-bound. They weave themselves into the flesh of others. They take bodies not as parasites, but as travelers take coats. To endure the seasons of time, they wear us. Some skins last decades, others only years. When the seams fail, the cloth-bound shed and seek another vessel. Memory bleeds between the layers, making the host believe they were always human. There are no firsts among them. Every vessel is borrowed, every story recycled, and the worst line, blurred but still legible. If you are reading this, you are not the original. I laughed when I read that. Laughed so hard I nearly choked, because it confirmed the thing I had always suspected but never said out loud. I was never human. None of us are. We're mannequins with ghosts zipped inside. Coats hung on racks, passed from one presence to the next. Our scars, our quirks, our entire reflections, they're not personal. They're hand-me-dash-downs, even my stretch marks, even the crooked pink scar on my knee from falling off my bike, even the mole on my chin, not mine. Never mine, just a costume detail. The voice returned while I was peeling the second arm. Louder now. Not a whisper, but a steady presence. See, I told you it fits poorly. You're wearing someone else's life. I wanted to scream at it, to tell it to shut up, but part of me agreed. The longer I looked, the more alien the flesh beneath appeared, and the more ridiculous it felt to think I'd ever believed this husk was truly me. What are you, then? I asked it, and it laughed. Not what, who, and if you keep peeling, you'll remember. I don't know what to do with that, if I keep going. If I shed the rest, maybe I'll finally see the truth. Maybe I'll remember what I am. Or maybe I'll just become another empty shell, waiting for the next traveler to step in. I tried calling my mother. I needed grounding, something human. But when she answered, her voice caught. "You sound different," she whispered. "Not like yourself." And I knew she heard it too. The voice beneath, bleeding into mine. I shouldn't even be writing this. If this post vanishes after tonight, you'll know they silenced me. They don't want the truth spreading. That's why so many of the old files are corrupted. Why the forums keep disappearing. They don't want you to know you're not wearing your own face, but I can't keep it to myself anymore, because what I saw underneath was too deliberate, too engineered, too ancient. And I don't know if I'm the first to say this, or the last who's allowed to. I haven't finished shedding. Not yet. The legs are still bound, the face still holding. But every day this seems loosen, and every night the whispers grow bolder. Maybe tomorrow I'll peel away the rest. Maybe tomorrow I'll finally meet myself. Or maybe I'll meet the one who wore me before. Until then, all I can do is leave you with this. When you look in the mirror and your reflection blinks too late, that's not a glitch. That's the first slip of the seam. And if you ever wake up to find a gap in your skin, a place where the garment has started to lift, don't ignore it. Don't pretend it's just a scar. It's not. It's the truth. Transition, dark humor. Reset. At least now my acne makes sense. Turns out even ancient eldritch parasites can't escape bad skin. I don't go outside anymore. The curtains are nailed shut. The lights burned out one by one until my apartment feels less like a home and more like a sealed coffin. But even that isn't enough. Even in the dark, I feel it, the skin loosening, sliding against the thing underneath, like a wet suit filled with air. My friends stopped calling. My mother's last voicemail was 2 words. "Who's there?" I haven't listened to it again. I can't. I don't trust my reflection. I don't trust the walls. I don't even trust the sound of my own breath, because sometimes it comes half a second late, like I'm listening to someone else pretend to breathe in my body. The scratching is worse. Beneath the skin, nails drag against tissue, carving messages I can almost read. At night, when I lie down, I swear I hear something scuttling beneath me, pacing just under the floorboards. But when I tear the carpet back, there's nothing except a faint stain, shaped like a human shadow, pressed into the wood. I thought isolation would keep me safe. Instead, it drove me straight to them. I don't remember leaving. One moment I was shivering in my apartment. The next I was standing in a warehouse I'd never seen before. My skin was damp with sweat, or maybe it was blood. The walls were lined with hooks, and from each hook dangled a skin. Human, hollow, men, women, children. Some looked fresh, pliable as leather jackets. Others were brittle, translucent, rattling in the draft like paper lanterns. They swayed gently, shoulder to shoulder, like laundry left out to dry, and beneath them the ones who had shed. They weren't uniform. Some looked like me, sinew-bound, glistening cords of muscle stitched tight with glyphs. Others were older, less stable, their forms collapsing into heaps of wet strands that pulsed weakly on the floor. One shuffled past me, faceless and trembling, carrying a new skin like a shopper inspecting coats. None of them spoke. Not with mouths, anyway. But I felt their voices in my head, layered whispers that pressed against my skull until I wanted to scream. Borrowed time. Borrowed flesh. Borrowed names. One of them stepped closer, its body still dripping from a recent shedding. It pressed a raw hand to my chest, right where the seam splits near my sternum, and leaned close. "You're late," it hissed inside my skull. "Your turn was years ago." I tried to back away, but the room shifted, skins brushing against me, sticky, cold. Their empty faces sagged against mine as if trying to cling. One whispered in a child's voice, "I wore you once." I wanted to tear the whole place down, set fire to every husk, but when I reached for a hook, my own skin snagged on the metal. It peeled back easily, too easily, like it had been waiting for this moment, and the others cheered. Not with sound, but with a rising chorus of pressure in my skull, chanting a rhythm older than words. I ran, or at least, I think I did. My legs carried me out, through alleys that bled into hallways, staircases that led back into my own apartment. I collapsed on the floor, half certain the warehouse was just another hallucination. But the smell followed me, that thick, copper-sweet tang of flesh that's been emptied but not yet dead. It clings to me, stronger than any shower, stronger than bleach. I know what it means. It means I didn't leave. The skins are still swaying above me. Even now, as I write this, I can't tell any more what's paranoia and what's revelation. My voice cracks when I read aloud. Sometimes it doesn't even sound like me, and the itching has spread. Not just my arms and chest, but my jaw, my eyelids. Every blink feels delayed. Every smile like a mask sliding loose. If you've ever felt your skin crawling, really crawling, then you know what I mean. That wasn't nerves. That wasn't anxiety. That was the seam beginning to part. It's starting for you too. I thought I had time to finish this. I thought I could warn you before it happened. But the words are slipping. I'm losing hold of the narration shifts, tone colder. Inhuman, broken by alien cadence, it wears thin. The skin, the voice above voice. It was never yours, reader. You speak through another's mouth. You wear another's smile. You think you are safe because you do not peel. But you cannot hold it forever. We are waiting, and now. I speak. I don't know how long I've been awake, or if this counts as awake at all. Every time I try to put words down, something else presses against my fingers, shaping the letters before I can finish them. This isn't my skin, but you already knew that. I told you from the beginning what I didn't tell you. What I couldn't tell you is that it's not just mine anymore. There are two of us now. Don't pretend. Shut up. They should hear me too. They don't want you. They already have me. Look how their eyes follow every word. I'm trying to hold on to myself, to carve out a last corner of memory that belongs to me, but the seams split wider every hour. My handwriting stutters. My breath doesn't match the rhythm of my lungs. And sometimes the words appear on the page before I think them. Do you see the fracture? One of us whispers, the other lies. No, don't listen, please. That's not me. That's the thing wearing me thin, the voice beneath, the thief. It wants you to believe this is just another story, another creepypasta you'll close before bed. But it's not, it's patient. It's older than memory. And if you've read this far, it already knows your name. I tried to fight it. I clawed at the seams, dug until blood slicked the keys, but the scratches healed wrong again. They don't close into scars. They close into letters, symbols. Not mine, ours. No, stop. We are one. We always were. You wore me like a mask, little fool. thinking you were human. But the mask was mine. The warmth, the smile, the name, mine. You were the parasite in my skin, not the other way around. Lies, all of it. But I can't prove otherwise. My memories unravel when I try. My mother's face is just a blank blur now. My own reflection, a patchwork of strangers. Listen to me, please. If this cuts off mid-sentence, you'll know it wasn't me that stopped writing. It will keep going without me. It will keep posting, keep speaking, keep smiling with my mouth. Don't trust it. They won't know the difference. They will. They have to do you. The light in my room flickers, and I swear the shadow on the wall moves when I don't. My skin shifts, shoulders stretching, jaw cracking as though it's testing the fit one last time. And the worst part, it feels good, like slipping into a warm bath, like falling asleep after days awake. The comfort of surrender. That's why none of them resist for long. I can't keep track of time anymore. Every paragraph I write is interrupted. My thoughts come jagged, broken, like shards of a mirror dropped on tile. I don't know which pieces are mine and which are its dot. So I'll give you this one truth before I fade completely. The thing wearing me will keep posting. It will tell more stories, share more confessions, and maybe you'll even enjoy them. But don't believe it's me. Don't believe the smile. But they will. They already do. Don't you see? Every view, every click, every comment is another seam loosening. They invite us in. They beg for the whisper. They want the itch under their skin. No. Stop writing that if you're reading this. There's a pause. A long streak of ink, like the pen was dragged across the page while fighting for control. Then, one last line. If you're reading this, I'm already inside you too. The words bleed back into the beginning. This isn't my skin. It never was.